and governance committee.
We haven't had any meetings at all this time. Open what we need to have.
Hopefully tomorrow.
Well, I didn't know she was on vacation.
She's sick.
Oh.
Okay. Human services committee?
We have a meeting tomorrow.
Okay. Tomorrow at what time?
6:30.
6:30. Okay, great. Public safety committee?
We have our meeting on February 11th, of which I wanted to invite you to attend if you are available
Okay.
to speak over some of these.
February 11th.
February
I don't have my
11th.
calendar right here.
Right, February 11th, 6:30.
Okay. So, any other comments on public safety?
No.
All right. Public works committee?
We'll meet the first Wednesday of next week, first Wednesday of the month, next week. February 4th.
February 4th? Perfect, thank you. Technology committee?
We met on the 15th. We talked a little bit more about the portable AV system. And we're going to look at going back to get additional bids for it. The cost that they have seems really expensive for what they're providing. So we want to make sure that at least kind of par for the course with what the market's doing. We also discussed the document structure, technology destruction policy around hard drives and things that contain sensitive information, city information. So I know with the police computers, they just disposed of the hard drives with holes and saving them. So we're looking at seeing what we're doing with that data and how we're disposing of it. So, we're also discussed possibly doing an RFP for new IT services for everyone that's non-law enforcement, non-police. And then Richard addressed the surface tablet issues that we're zeroing in on. But that's it. Our next meeting is on the 19th, Thursday the 19th at 5 o'clock.
Perfect, okay. Thank you. Hey, park board. Any report from park board tonight?
Nothing new to report.
Great, thank you. Planning commission? It's very good to have a meeting tomorrow night. Okay, Pierce County Regional Council.
Nothing new to report, but there will be a meeting next Thursday.
Perfect. And so Sound Cities Association, we met last week. It was the first meeting of the year, so the introduction of new electeds that are appointed to the Sound Cities Association Public Issues Committee. And then we went over the rules of the meeting and how things get there, just kind of an orientation basically for the newbies. And then we also had a presentation from Don Gerard, who also is with Association of Washington Cities regarding the transportation package. So you're going to see a lot of things coming forward. There's a lot of work to have a pretty hefty work plan moving forward for the Sound Cities Association. I also will be attending the orientation on Wednesday for everyone that is appointed to a committee. So I will be there Wednesday night for the orientation for Sound Cities Association. More to come. We have a lot of work we're going to be doing. So, skateboard.
Skateboard, I attended my first session. That was very interesting. I think, as you can expect with the legislative session, the meeting was dominated with topics that were going to be discussed in Olympia, primarily SR 167 and trying to garner support for the completion of that project. There was a presentation by Sound Transit, and then a long discussion about the transportation package that may or may not be going forward.
Thank you. Valley Regional Fire Authority.
No, I missed the last one.
Yeah, it's just
Dan.
and we meet next. Yeah.
All right, moving on. Yes.
I will not be the alternate for Valley Regional Fire Authority. That's the same night as the Pacific Partnership. So I'm going to resign as alternate.
Okay, and let's bring it up then at the workshop.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. Okay, next item on the agenda, old business, ordinance number 2015-1890. Are you going to be presenting that? Or?
Just real quick.
This ordinance is the one that would extend the interim zoning regulations, and this is the one that staff is recommending needs to be approved because of the fact that if the council adopts tonight, if they do adopt permanent regulations tonight, the timeline between the effective date of the permanent regulations and the expiration of the existing interim regulations, there would be a gap between the expiration dates and the effective date of permanent regulations. So that this is one that does have to be adopted tonight. And just real quick, I did provide in the agenda bill the information that was requested by council at the last meeting. If there's any questions regarding that information, feel free to ask, but it's the best information that we can dig out.
Questions from council? I have a question for Carol. Do we need to have it as an emergency passage?
Yeah, if you pass it by emergency, you need a majority of the council members plus one tonight to pass it.
For it to take effect, so that
Right.
we don't have to gap.
Right.
Any questions from council? Council pleasure?
Make a motion to approve ordinance 2015-1890.
Second.
Okay, Councilmember Steiger, would like to speak to your motion?
We'll put a little war this thing out. So, as long as we're going through the workshop and everything, that's all it is, taking a vote.
Okay, Councilmember Jones?
We need to, as explained to us, we need to make sure it's in place prior to whatever actions we're going to take or not take. So it should proceed the following ordinances, so we need to do it.
Any further comments from council? Councilmember Case?
Do we need to make a stipulation in the motion that it's being passed with an emergency passage?
No, it's already in the ordinance, in the body of the ordinance, so.
This is here, I want to make sure. it's
Right.
clear. Okay, any other questions from council? Comments from the audience? Whoever you're speaking to, the
South Thompson, 416, I got out of the Southeast Pacific. My only question is, if we do another moratorium, does that mean we get more medical marijuana shops? Last time we went from 2 to 4.
Any other comments from the audience?
Can I only ask a clarification? In the past, you wanted to group all the audience comments about the marijuana initiative at once. You're not doing that tonight, is that correct?
Correct.
You just want comments on this
Correct.
specific one,
This
correct?
is specifically the extending the
Want to
and then we'll be
clarify.
going
Thank
through each individual ordinance.
you. With opportunity. Thank you.
Correct, correct. Okay, any other comments from the audience? Seeing none, roll call of council, please.
Councilmember Garvey?
Aye.
Councilmember Jones?
Aye.
Councilmember Case?
Aye.
Councilmember Oliver?
Aye.
Councilmember Putnam?
Aye.
Councilmember Steiger?
Aye.
Councilmember Walker?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is ordinance number 2014-1872. So, Jack, are you going to be presenting each of these, or is Carol?
I'll be presenting them, and if there's legal questions, Carol's here, I'll provide the legal advice. For this ordinance, this is to prohibit medical marijuana dispensaries and collective gardens, and staff is recommending that this ordinance be passed because of the fact that currently, there is not a mechanism within state law for enforcing this, and it would be up to the municipalities to enforce medical marijuana and dispensaries, and quite frankly, we don't have the money to be able to enforce that. So the staff is recommending that this ordinance be passed. Now, I might add that the planning commission and their recommendation was not to adopt this ordinance.
Questions from council? Councilmember Walker.
At least with our public hearing last week, we've done our due diligence based on the planning commission.
Yes.
Further questions from council? Councilmember Jones.
Sorry. One thing that I'm thinking is, we can pass this now, but in the future, as the state becomes more attuned to the requirements for medical dispensaries and collective gardens, that we can then come back and make modification to our ordinance.
Yes, that can be revisited at a future time.
Further questions from council? Would council's pleasure?
Make a motion to approve ordinance 2014-1872.
Second.
Okay, Councilmember Kay, would you like to speak to your motion?
We discussed it very thoroughly last week, and clearly there were no regulations on how to take care of the medical side of things in this state right now, especially since the governor vetoed the last upgrades to the program, and it seems like it's a haven for criminal activity, and no one really benefits from it, and it's just a nightmare for us.
Councilmember Olivera.
I believe that in our country, all medicines that are prescribed as medicine or sold as medicine need to have some kind of quality control, some sort of safety, to make sure that what the consumers are getting are healthy and safe, and people aren't going to get sick. And right now, our medical laws don't look out for the consumers. When you go into these shops, they refer to the customers as patients. They refer to the product as medicine. And you can't buy a bottle of aspirin without some sort of FDA quality control, making sure that it's safe. And until that happens, I'm against allowing medical marijuana dispensaries and collective gardens in our state.
Further comments from council? Councilmember Putnam.
I mentioned last week that I was not comfortable adopting any permanent regulations while there were, at current count, 24 new bills pending in the legislature to change the basic rules for all of these. That's now 33. And one of those is a comprehensive medical regulation system that largely follows, I believe, what was in the previously vetoed system. So again, I would say that since the legislature is moving quickly on this, and since we have extended our interim zoning restrictions for another 6 months, I would prefer not to adopt any permanent regulations, pro or con, until we see what this session of the legislature does.
Further comments from council? Councilmember Jones.
Well, contradicting Councilmember Putnam's opinion, not his personal opinion, but related to the ordinance, I think it'd be better to pass the ordinance, and as the state implements new regulations, then we can come back and revisit this and modify if the council deems they want to make a modification.
Okay, Councilmember Kay.
I tend to agree with Councilmember Jones on this issue. Under the moratorium, we're supposed to be continuing to work, and we wouldn't be continuing to work. We would be waiting for legislature to work. And so I think we pass what we have with the knowledge base that we have on what's in front of us, and then as the state changes their approach, then we can revisit the topic.
Any further comments from council? Councilmember Walker.
I echo Councilmember Kay's opinion, and also, we saw how long it took to get recreational guidelines in place. Now, granted, those are already in place, but how long, even after the legislature approves it, how long will it take to build additional guidelines? So I think if we solve the problem at least a little longer than 6 months, we can come back and revisit it.
Further comments from council? Seeing none, comments from the audience? Seeing none, roll call of council, please.
Councilmember Kay?
Aye.
Councilmember Olivera?
Aye.
Councilmember Putnam?
No.
Councilmember Steiger?
Aye.
Councilmember Walker?
Aye.
Councilmember Garberding?
Aye.
Councilmember Jones?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is ordinance number 2014-1876.
Just real briefly, the planning commission at their August 6th meeting had recommended approval of this particular ordinance to the city council.
Okay, would you please explain it a little bit more?
Now, this particular ordinance would allow your processors and producers within the light industrial zone within the city, and as I showed in some aerial photos last week, where those areas would be, and also would allow as a conditional use, and these are all conditional uses, to allow commercial retail shops to be allowed in the commercial zone. So that's what the planning commission had recommended.
Questions from council? Okay, what's council's pleasure?
I move to adopt ordinance number 2014-1876.
Second.
Councilmember Case.
Yeah, I think we've done a lot of work in this area, obviously chairing the marijuana work group. We did a lot of research into this, and it basically, in doing that research, changed my mind and my approach towards marijuana. After reading just about every single page and it's so thorough and regulated so tightly. The state's taken on the responsibility to regulate it. I think we need to give that a chance to work. I also think that we shouldn't be restricting people's ability to open a legal business in our town. Our job is to find a place that's acceptable for them to operate. We've done so. The Planning Commission has done a lot of research and determined that the light industrial area of our town would allow manufacturing and or production and processing, and then commercial business, commercial zones in the town will allow sales. There's nothing in the SEPA report or the whereases that state that we would have traffic issues. So I think we got to give it a chance and then address it at a later date.
Councilmember Walker.
Well, I agree with Councilman McKay that we need to give it a chance. I don't know that now. So I second it to get it on the table for discussion.
Councilmember Jones.
It was reiterated tonight again about the council allowing legal businesses to operate within the city, and it's not our responsibility to limit a legal business. But the reality is that we as council and the mayor's visions of the city are our responsibility, and where we want and what kind of business we want within our city, and the progress of the city moving forward into the future. And the concern I have right now with this business model, and primarily more so even in the commercial sales environment. We have two major roads being rebuilt. I am looking for those two major roads, once they're completed, to bring in retail sales and businesses and restaurants that will benefit the city in the long-term future. And I feel personally that at this point, any retail sales or industrial manufacturing of marijuana in the light industrial area will limit and restrict what kind of other businesses will move in. Not necessarily because most of it's an unknown factor. Both those businesses are heavily cash-based businesses. That brings in a whole other problem related, and there have been break-ins, there are potential armed robberies and everything else involved when you deal with that kind of money and those kind of issues. And I do not want to see the kind of other businesses that we look forward in the future for the city of Pacific be restricted because we have medical marijuana processing or sales in the city. So I'm against it.
Councilmember Rivera.
I'm against retail, recreational retail marijuana. We have a small, limited retail area for businesses to open up, and our city is too small to put in retail and recreational marijuana stores. We need family-friendly stores that are not 21 and over. We need things for kids, we need things for teenagers, that we don't need to be opening new businesses that restrict families. We need to promote more family-friendly businesses.
Any comments from council? Councilmember Putnam.
If we do pass this, it may be preempted by the state within a month or two. There are bills currently in the legislature that would entirely preempt the field and prevent us from prohibiting any operations. There are also action pending that would increase the restrictions so that our list of prohibited areas, 1,000-foot setback, would not be adequate. There are also rules pending that would require us to put this to a public vote in order to have it enforced, and a variety of other rules. There are changes to the 1,000-foot setback that would include any place that children regularly congregate, whether it's a formal institution or not. I don't know that we even have the ability to identify those under current planning. So once again, I think it's premature to adopt any permanent regulation on this issue.
Further comments from council? Councilmember Walker.
I guess I should have a question to the attorney. So if we pass this tonight, and let's say one of the bills, the many bills that Josh has discussed, reduces or restricts our ability to pass this, what happens next?
Well, you can ask that it be brought back before you, and we can amend it, with a recommendation based upon the existing law. We can repeal it. I mean, this is not set in stone.
So it doesn't force our hand in any way, it doesn't hurt us down the road, we'll have a chance to reevaluate it.
Adopting it doesn't hurt you. If the legislature changes a law, we can revisit it. I do want to point out that last year, the legislature was expected to rule on medical marijuana, and they didn't do anything. There were a number of bills, and they just failed to act, so you don't know what they're going to do.
Further comments? Councilmember Sue.
Again, the city has looked at marijuana-related issues for more than 2 years, and tonight's the first time that the council is taking a serious look at acting on any of it, and I think people need an answer, whether it's up or down. Give them an up or down vote. Let the people that are out there waiting to see, paying leases on buildings, trying to determine if we're going to allow them to do business or not, let them be able to move on with their lives and their businesses one way or the other.
Further comments from council? Comments from the audience?
Don Thompson, 406 Second Avenue Southeast, Pacific. I was on the fact finding committee, and all the information I read and whatnot, it really wasn't to our benefit because of the money revenues. I've talked to people in the city off and on, and a lot of them were misled, thinking that the city would seize some of that tax money they're collecting. And when I told them no, they're not, they said, I'd like to vote on it again. It shouldn't have been voted in because we thought we was getting some of that tax money. So I personally say need to vote down the recreational processing and retail sales because as a city, we're not equipped to deal with it.
Further comments from the audience?
Mark Dodge, 603 3rd Avenue Southeast. My very first comment to the very first public hearing that I heard about planning commission, my very first comment was, I'm really glad for 502 and for this because it lets us talk about this finally. And I'm really glad for that because it is a reality all over the place. I really appreciate your comments. You know where I stand. I'm against this resolution. I'm in favor of another one. But I thank you for the conversation and for speaking your hearts and minds. It's a tough conversation. This week, at my place of business and operation, walking in my field, I found a baggie with a couple of bud in it, not the beer kind. I've had 4 homeless people in the last 3 days who stopped. I always talk with them. All 4 of them, and this isn't pot, but it's the impact drugs are having in our community. 3 of them are struggling with heroin addiction, 1 with meth addiction. I have 4 kids who are working for me, working off fines and working on stuff who are all struggling with drug addiction. It's just all over. We gotta talk about it. And if this is where they can start the conversation, that's great. Thank you for beginning the conversation.
Any further comments from the audience?
Jean Fancher, 37248 55th Avenue South. One of the things that I've heard recently is that when the state changed the management of alcohol, going from liquor control stores to grocery stores, the alcohol use by teenagers has gone up, the amount of thievery has gone up. A friend of mine walks to get in shape for the 3-day. She finds the tops, the security tops off of the fifths and the liter bottles along the road and picks them up. I mean, it's a problem. Kids get hooked on stuff, they want to try it, they know how to get it illegally. If marijuana is available retail, I believe that the retail drug problem is going to go up, or it's going to go up, or it's available retail, the price is high because of the taxes, it just sends more people to the black market. And we already have a really large drug and money trafficking problem in Washington. Washington is a conduit between the B.C. Producers of one kind of drug and the Mexican sellers, or the south of the border sellers. Money is going through the state, and I don't think we should increase the opportunity for kids to get involved with drugs, nor increase the opportunity for illegal drug trade. That's it. Thanks.
Any further comments from the audience? Seeing none, we'll call the council, please.
Councilmember Garberty? No. Councilmember Jones?
No.
Councilmember Kay?
Aye.
Councilmember Olivera?
No.
Councilmember Putnam?
No.
Councilmember Steiger?
No.
Councilmember Walker?
No.
Motion carries.
Fails.
Or fails, I mean, yeah. I'm sorry.
Please say fails.
Sorry. So used to saying